Hi guys, thanks for joining us on the Elation Podcast today. We are with Rantz Davis. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Same, man.
Yeah,
Good
man.
to see you.
It's been a minute.
I know, since the camp.
Yeah, since the
Yes,
camp.
sir.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was a good one too.
It was great, man.
Absolutely.
Awesome experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about where you're from, man. Where you from?
Born and raised in New Orleans.
That's what I love to hear.
Yes,
Born and
sir.
raised in New Orleans.
Yep.
That's awesome. Where'd you go to high school? That's always the question.
St. Aug.
St. Aug.
Augustine. Shout out
That's
to the
right.
Purple Knights, man.
Shout out to St. Aug.
Yeah, man. I love my school.
That's awesome, man. You should, man. That's a good school to represent.
Oh, man. It was an amazing experience going there. I actually was in the Marching 100, which was an amazing experience, too. I learned a lot. I would like to say that the experience of going to St. Aug grew me from a boy to a man, for sure. It gave me all the tools I needed to be successful, I feel like.
That's awesome. You know, I feel like it's almost more of a college experience than a high school because of how serious it is. And it really gets you in the program of that system, you know.
It instills a lot of discipline, a lot of just focus and, grind. And it, like I said, it gives you all the tools. I feel like going there gave me all the tools that I needed to be successful in anything because it really taught you your mentality,
right? The right
mentality that needs to be that you need to be successful. I felt like I learned a lot of that going to that school for sure.
Well, and just like a college too, I feel like when you leave that school, there's always a connection to anybody that's ever going to St. Aug. It's like an alum thing, and everybody sticks together.
It's like a fraternity.
Yeah.
There's so many successful men who have walked the halls of St. Augustine High School. So once you become a graduate, once you become an alumni of that, you have access to all these successful men that's successful in different avenues, whether it's restaurant owners or musicians,
right?
Or, whatever you want to do. There's somebody that went to that school that's successful in that industry. So yeah, you have that was probably one of the main reasons why I decided to go there as well, is because you have access to all these successful people that came before you. And to be honest with you, I even have access to successful people that came after I graduated as well, because it's just the history of.
It's a family. It's a family. Exactly. It's a legacy, and they took it seriously, which makes y'all take it seriously afterwards.
Exactly.
So,
and we take pride in where we go.
Absolutely.
If you meet anybody that went to St. Augustine, like, we are super prideful where we graduated, and we love our school like we love our family.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about the marching band and the Marching 100. Like, tell us about that.
Man, one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, especially as a kid.
Right.
I remember.
Because when did you start doing music? It was before. I'm sure it was before then.
I was singing. I started singing when I was 5 years old. So I've always been into music, and I remember being 7, 8 years old, going to the Mardi Gras parades. St. Augustine Marching 100 is one of the staple bands in the Mardi Gras parade. So I remember being a little boy, seeing the Marching 100 march in those parades, and be like, man, that's gonna be me one day. I want to be in the band. That was literally on my bucket list.
Speak it into fruition.
Yes,
you have
literally.
to speak it into existence.
Yes, man. Like, it was so much on my bucket list. I literally learned how to play the trumpet. I played trumpet in the band. I literally learned how to play the trumpet just so I can be in that band.
That's awesome.
So I was never passionate about being a trumpet player.
That's where you fit.
But I was passionate about being in that band.
Right.
So I did what I needed to do to learn how to play trumpet to be in that band. And
that's drive and passion.
I was going to say, because it's not easy to make the band. You have to audition to even get in.
It's not easy to play the trumpet either.
Yeah, it's not.
My grandfather played the trumpet. That ain't easy.
There you go. There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I took a liking to the trumpet because I'm a singer. And, if you listen to bands, the trumpet always are the ones that plays the melody. So I took a liking to that as well. But man, it was very competitive. It taught me life lessons as well. Just always be on your A game.
That's awesome.
Be disciplined and things like that. Go home and practice. It taught me life lessons that I still use to this day. But man, it was an amazing experience. My freshman year, I was a part of history. I was actually a part of history my freshman and senior year there. So my freshman year, we actually was the first band from New Orleans to ever march in the Rose Bowl parade in Pasadena, California, which was amazing.
That's amazing, yep.
And then my senior year, we actually became the first band from New Orleans to ever march in the Macy's Thanksgiving parade in New York.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So I got to travel to California. My first plane ride was with the March 100.
Right.
Yeah, so I got a chance to travel to California. I went to New York. I went to Tampa Bay. We would do these, band competitions in Houston and Tampa Bay, and obviously in New Orleans as well. But man, and we even went to Atlanta a couple times as well. So it was an amazing experience.
There's a lot of growth and all that stuff.
Yeah, just to be 14 and go from 14 to 18 in those 4 years, I experienced a lot that I probably wouldn't have experienced if I hadn't been in that band.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
I respect it a lot because it takes you have, like I said, speak things into existence, but you have to also work at it, and you have to find where you fit in, and you have to put yourself there, and then you have to stay there and figure out how to make it work.
Facts.
You know, so there's a lot of things that went into that, and especially at a young age, you just kind of did it naturally.
Yeah, man.
So
You
that's
gotta
awesome.
with that band, you got to be determined. You know, you got to be determined to be your best self, because it's so competitive. If you slip up, there's somebody else. There's like even as a junior, senior in high school, if you slip up, there's another junior or another senior or even a freshman that may be up and coming that's wanting to take your spot.
Right.
So you have to always, make sure you're on. They even taught us to make sure we're at practice on time.
Right.
You know, so making sure you're on time, because if you're 10 minutes late, the guy that was 10 minutes early may take your spot because he was there. You know, so it's, man, you get so many life lessons just being in that band and going to that school, man. It was an amazing experience, and a lot of life lessons that I learned that I can take on, for the rest of my life, man.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about the parade.
Oh yeah, man. That was fun. Man, it was fun. We marched in some of the biggest parades. Like I said, St. Aug is a staple band.
But the Macy's Day Parade, like that's, you're talking, thousands of people and cameras and
national
news and stopping to do the national news and then walking again. Like there's a lot of
So I would say the most challenging thing for us, we're used to doing field shows where we do formations and stuff during the halftime shows. But when we're doing that, we're on a football field. So there's different lines, the 20-yard line, 50-yard line. We know where to make our turns and things like that. In the Macy's Parade, if you watch the Macy's Parade on TV, you notice when they get to that logo, the Macy's Thanksgiving, they do their little show. So we had to do a field show as if we were on the football field. But this time it was with no lines. It's just a street. So it was crazy. And that was my senior year, so I remember it very well, but I remember us just, man, vigorously just practicing, rehearsing with no lines, so that by the time we got there, it would be second nature to us. So we did a lot of rehearsing. I'll never forget it, but it was fun. Man.
For that 15 seconds of
just for that 15 seconds of fame, man, on national television.
But that's awesome.
We put in a lot of days of a lot of weeks leading up until that actual parade on Thanksgiving, man. It was an experience.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
So we went to Dillard afterward, correct?
I did. I graduated from Dillard University. After I graduated from St. Aug, I went there. I actually studied mass communications, and I have a minor in marketing as well. And that was an amazing experience as well. First year,
Dillard does a lot of good for a lot of people, man.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's a good school.
It's a great school. Especially, and that's one of the reasons why I went to Dillard, because it's like one of the number one HBCUs for mass communications, which obviously I'm in music as well, so I'm able to use what I've learned in mass comm for music too, as far as marketing and editing things and editing articles and things like that, writing, even songwriting. I use some of the things I learned in mass comm in my songwriting for different words and things like that. So it was great. It was a great experience. My freshman year I'll never forget, because that was the same year that Katrina hit. So I was actually at Dillard for 1 week. My first week. I was a freshman in college. I had literally had only been in college for 1 week, and it was one of the best weeks. Your first week, you're meeting all these new people from all over the country and everything. Man, I had an amazing time. And then literally that Sunday, I'll never forget. It was that Sunday after. Man, I didn't even know if I would ever go back to Dillard. It was just unprecedented times.
How long did it take? I forget how long did it take for Dillard to open back up.
So I ended up. It took us some. Well,
did they move you to a different school?
I did. Yes. So as soon as when it initially happened, I actually had to take a semester at Southeastern Louisiana, which is in Hammond. So I did that for one semester. After that semester, Dillard was back, but it wasn't back on their campus. We actually stayed in the Hilton Hotel, the Hilton Riverside, which is right there downtown. I stayed there, and it was one of the great. I just want you to picture a bunch of college kids living in a 5-star hotel. So you can imagine the type of fun that we had, especially me being only 18, 19 years old, freshman in college, living in a 5-star hotel that's in the heart of New Orleans. Right. That's all I have to say.
It was definitely an experience. You had fun.
Amazing. Yeah, man.
Yeah, you got to make something out of it, man. That's awesome.
For sure.
It's we were just talking about it before with my last guest. Katrina, was such a big moment for this city.
Man, something we'll never forget for the
No,
rest of our lives.
100%.
Yeah.
But there are some crazy, random good things that came out of it. So my cousin was going to Tulane at the time.
Okay.
And she, I want to say it was her sophomore year.
Okay.
And they started shipping people off to different schools all over the country.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Well,
Yep. I remember.
she ended up going to Harvard.
Oh, wow.
She got, and I don't know exactly how she got
That's
selected,
amazing.
but she ended up getting to go to Harvard for a semester.
Okay.
And then after that semester, she had the ability to test in to stay at Harvard.
Oh, wow.
So she ended up staying and graduating from Harvard.
That's a great opportunity.
And would have never had that opportunity if it wasn't for
Katrina. Yeah. So that's something good that came out
crazy
of,
out of it. Crazy random.
Definitely.
But so let's talk a little bit about your music. So did you do any music at Dillard, or was it more about?
I did. I actually had songs on the radio while I was there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I used to perform at the Spring Fest. Actually, I became well known within the whole HBCU community. So at Dillard and Xavier.
Awesome.
I was performing at their Spring Fest, the homecoming concerts at both schools.
Right.
And I opened up for Trey Songz. At that time, I opened up for Tank. I opened up for Chrisette Michelle. Oh, man. It was an amazing experience. I opened up for Lloyd at Xavier as well. So, I was actually doing music as a college student. It was, like I said, my college experience was great because I literally was going to class. I remember driving to class, listening to myself on the radio, and times where I would, leave out of class and they're like, hey, you're the guy that got the song on the radio, right? Like, yeah, and I would just, I would. It was great.
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah,
it feels good when you get recognized like that. Man.
It is, man. It is. It feels good, especially amongst your peers.
Right.
When you're walking, it was a great experience to just walk through the halls, going to my class, and people just stopping me. Hey, I like that new song I just heard from you, and things like that. And then, like I said, they gravitated toward me so much that I started to perform at all of the Dillard and Xavier because Dillard and Xavier is like a family. So just as I became popular at Dillard, I started to become popular at Xavier as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also had friends at Xavier, so they would be like, "Hey, I know you just performed at Dillard. Is it a way that you can perform at Xavier too?" I'm like, "Of course." So man, it got to the point where I was literally the guy,
right.
the guy at that time performing at both of those HBCUs. At whatever events they had, I was always one of the performers for sure.
That's awesome. So was it always R&B?
It was always R&B. I'm an R&B lover, man.
That's
I'm an
awesome.
R&B head. I've been loving R&B since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I grew up on artists like Michael Jackson, Usher, Stevie Wonder. All of the greats, man. I grew up in the 90s.
Right.
So when I grew up in the 90s, that was the heyday of...
It was the best, man. Those 90s R&B albums were some of the best stuff that, we will ever have.
I mean, you had superstars, like your Ushers and Genuines and all that. But then you also had, Donnell Jones and Joe and,
right.
Those individuals, too, that was still pushing out amazing songs, amazing albums, classic albums.
Right.
Then you had your R&B groups with Jagged Edge,
right.
Boys to Men.
Casey JoJo.
Casey and JoJo, exactly. Yep. Jodeci and all those people too. So, man, I grew up in the heyday of R&B, just riding in the car with my parents, and every time you turn on the radio, it was always a classic R&B song. You don't hear those things on the radio like that anymore. But that's what really.
I feel like it's making its way back.
It is. But you don't hear as many.
No,
I would say that. But nah, you definitely. I mean, there's a lot of great R&B artists that's out now.
Yeah, and I feel like I can't. I'm excited about it because
it's starting to come back. I want to say last year I read that the streams for R&B went up 40%.
I heard the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like it's the perfect time to release music now, especially with R&B.
Because everything comes in cycles.
Exactly.
My grandfather used to say 10-year cycles. So like everything's in 10-year cycles.
Exactly.
So,
we're starting to see that now. It's a lot of I'm an R&B head, so I discover a lot of R&B. I'm on streaming services all the time, just trying to see what's the next song coming out, and it's a lot of great R&B songs that's coming out, and I'm hoping and praying that we get back to it being mainstream as well. So,
that's
but regardless,
awesome.
man, R&B has its fan base, and we support it like no other.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I know this music is a family thing too. I mean, you get to work with your cousin all the time. You
Yeah,
know,
shout out to V Script, man.
V-Script. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my cousin. He's 5-time Grammy nominated. He's actually worked on a lot of R&B projects in the industry. He's written for Coco Jones. He's written for Chris Brown. He's written for her, Eric Bellinger. You know, so he's heavily in the R&B realm as well. A lot of his nominations came from writing R&B. And me and him, we are click tight. We grew up together. I've been knowing him since I've been knowing life.
Right.
His mom and my mom are sisters. He's literally like not just my cousin, but he's my best friend
Right.
as
That's
well.
awesome.
So we bounce ideas a lot. We work together on music, obviously. We songwrite together and things like that as well. He's also doing his artistry. So it's like a hand-in-hand thing. It's a lot of songs that I released that he's, been behind the scenes on. And there's some songs that he's released that I've been behind the scenes on his music as well. So, man, it's a blessing to have somebody in your family that has that experience, has those connections, and has that advice that they can give you on how to make your music better and how to make it stand out and just how to break through in the industry. So yeah, man, it's
Well, and then when you can be creative, make money with your family.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly. And we've even started our own music group called Believe That Music Group as well, where we are not only releasing our songs, but we're also looking to write and produce for other artists as well and bring other artists on and give them opportunities too. So we're at the very beginning of that, but
Right.
I really see a big vision for that too.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
talk about bringing people together. That was the first time we met. Was the camp,
at
the Elation camp, right?
Exactly.
And
And that
V Script, brought everybody in for that. That was
man,
huge.
Rodney Jerkins,
Yep.
Jazzy Faye,
Yep.
Needles.
Needles.
So it was star studded, man. It
Yep.
was star studded, and it was amazing because that was something that we rarely see here in New Orleans.
Right.
I live in Atlanta, so I see things like me and V. We both live out there, so we see things like that in Atlanta all the time. Which is why that's what really gave him the idea to bring it to New Orleans as
Right.
well. Because those things happen in L.A. and New York and
Right.
Atlanta, but we don't really see writing camps like that here in New Orleans. So,
I know. And that's all I used to do a lot was in LA. I did a bunch
Yep.
of writing camps.
Exactly.
And so when I moved back here, I built a space because I was like, we have to do writing camps.
Yeah.
Like, it's part of the business.
And man, even the Elation Studios, man, kudos to you because I lived here for a long time before I grew up here. So I
Right.
lived here a long time before I moved to Atlanta, and I had never seen a studio to this caliber until this came about. So you're breaking barriers here
Thank
too,
you.
and you are setting the tone for the next generation here in New Orleans too. So
Thank you.
kudos to you too, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes,
I feel like we have been forgotten about since Katrina.
Yeah.
Since that week you spent,
Right.
since that week before school. I mean, or after school. Nobody really stayed and cultivated down here.
Yeah.
Everybody
A lot of people
kind of
moved. We dispersed.
They No Limit, Cash Money.
True.
I mean, I know there's so many other ones, but when you just think about the reach, the global reach they had.
Yes.
Yes. And Rockefeller stayed in New York.
True.
QC stayed in Atlanta.
True.
They're
still there.
And they're still there.
Yeah.
And they cultivate and they incubate artists and they run
From the
people
home.
through the wheel and they
Yep.
keep the wheel moving.
True.
Everybody, we got left.
I know.
No Limits to Calabasas.
Yep.
And,
I heard Birdman's looking to move back.
Yeah, good luck
I
with-
saw he made
good-
an announcement.
good luck
So
with that one.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
We'll see how that works. I don't
Oh,
think
you
he's
know.
giving Miami up.
Yeah, and Miami's beautiful.
I don't blame him. But
yeah, exactly.
But still, it hurt me as an artist. Being in LA, I was coming back and forth, and I was just like, man, we just don't have anything down here that the industry
Literally.
wants from us as
Yeah.
artists. And a space to cultivate the content that we are expected
Yeah.
to cultivate nowadays. Because it's
Right.
different.
Yeah, it is different. It's very different.
It's different.
I would say that the good thing now with social media is you don't have to live in a big city. You don't have to do all those things that you had to do 10 years ago.
Right.
You can literally just make some music in your room and just put it out, and you never know who will come across it.
Right.
But it's always still, even though the times are different and you can do those things, it is still always good to be able to come to your hometown and book a session at a studio, and because content is king.
Right.
So you may want to do a making the behind the scenes of making this song, and obviously you wouldn't do that at your house. You would want to go to a studio.
Right.
And you would want to go to a nice studio with the nice ambiance and things like that as well. And that's why I say kudos to you for this, because this, man, it's like I say, this is something I've never seen. I had never seen before in New Orleans. I seen it in other cities,
right,
but I had never seen it in New Orleans until it's opened up.
Well, thanks, man. We're gonna do a lot of stuff here for sure.
I believe it, man. I see the vision.
We got to get to the Billboard charts like you, man. You got to tell me. So, what songs you had on the Billboard?
So I had 2 songs that charted on Billboard. There's a song called Nobody and another song called Old Thing Back. They were both #1 in New Orleans on Q93. They also was getting a lot of spins in Lafayette and Baton Rouge. So at this time, I was doing shows like, I don't know, 2-3 times a week. And yeah, people just gravitated toward the songs. I was doing a lot of interviews and things like that. And next thing you know, it's crazy. I literally just woke up one day and they were like, yeah, you charted on Billboard. Like, I was not expecting that.
Right.
Especially just because, honestly, I was only getting radio spins in Louisiana. It wasn't just one city. It was, the little surrounding cities as well.
Right.
But I know Q93 is one of the is the biggest radio station in the city.
Right.
And one of the biggest ones in the country. So the fact that they were behind me so much, it got to the point where I was getting requested so much that they put me in power rotation, and I was literally my song was literally getting spent like once an hour.
Right. That's crazy.
Man, once that happened, that's when I started to chart on Billboard. It initially started on like the Billboard bubbling charts,
right?
And then eventually, man, I woke up one day and I was on the Hot 100 on the R&B hip hop charts,
right?
So yeah, man, it was crazy. That was an amazing experience as well, and it's just, yeah, man, it was. I can't describe it, but it was just surreal at that time. I was so young at the time as well, and it's just something I just wasn't expecting. I was just working, grinding, and it just happened.
And but I feel like that's naturally is always the best way for it to happen.
Right.
And when you don't push things, you too far, they just kind of start to come to you. You're doing things the right way.
Yeah, and I mean, it was history as well, because I became the first local R&B artist, independent R&B artist from New Orleans to ever chart on Billboard as well. So, man, people started to look at me in a whole different light. Promoters and club owners and producers, other songwriters, other artists that were here in New Orleans. It's like I just got a whole, and even the radio personalities, everyone that was in that industry. I just started to get a whole new respect. Legendary respect, because I was the first to do this. First person to kind of break as a local artist and chart on Billboard.
That's awesome, man. That's big.
Yeah,
that's
man.
Big. That's awesome. Well, I know we talked about how you opened up for some big acts.
Yep.
What would your best advice be for independent artists that are wanting to get on stage? And how did you speak that into existence?
Man, so how did I speak it into existence? I just went to work. I just made. This is the thing.
Amen.
This is the thing. You have to go to work and you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional with the type of songs that you write, or record.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, sometimes they just go in the studio and they just come up with whatever. I am intentional, and what I mean by intentional is I'm not walking out the studio unless it's a good song. So I'm going to either figure it out or I'm going to scratch it.
Right.
But I just take pride. You just got to make sure that you take pride in the type of music that you create, because you want to. The thing is, you're a business.
Right.
I know people look at it as an artist, but it's also a business. Your reputation is everything. You want to be known for putting out good music. You may not always put out a hit, but
right.
as long as the music is good, people are always going to be checking for you. And so I think that it was just a matter of me just always making sure that everything that I released was of quality, and that everything that I released was something that I felt extremely confident in, and I knew that other people would love it as well. And then once I came to that realization, I started releasing music, and people started gravitating toward it the way I was hoping they would. And then next thing you know, the phone calls started to come in. Hey, we got this artist coming in. Would you like to open up here? Hey, we see a lot of people are liking this song. Can you open up here and things like that? So that's how it happened. And then I would say this too. Once you do get booked for that gig, when you're opening up for somebody, make sure you're intentional with your show as well, because opening up for a big artists like a Tank or a Trey Songz or a Chrisette Michelle, whoever you're opening up for, this is an opportunity for you to gain their fans as well.
Right.
This is an opportunity for you to grow your fan base. The only way you're going to grow your fan base is by giving a good show.
Right.
If you're going on stage and you're just lollygagging and you're just winging it,
right.
You're not rehearsing.
Right. You didn't pick specific songs for that crowd.
You don't have your stuff together, man. they either gonna boo you or they just gonna look at you
Just
and
be passing.
and be waiting on you to get off the stage,
Yep.
you know. But if you go up there intentional, you rehearse, you on top of your game, you know, you make sure your vocal cords is on, you drunk your tea or whatever, you're doing the things that you need to make sure that your show is on point. When you get up on that stage and you do your show, when you get off, they're gonna be like, who is that?
Right.
You know, let me look you up. What's that song? What's your Instagram? What's your
Right.
Twitter? And that's how you grow I really came here to see Trey Songz. I really came here to see Miguel, but I wasn't expecting to see this guy too. Not only am I a fan of Miguel now, but I'm a fan of you too.
Absolutely.
Because
You imprinted something.
exactly. And
Yeah.
the thing about it is too, when people see you perform for the first time, they're gonna always remember that.
Right.
You know, so those are the things that you have to keep in mind. You have to take that really, really serious because it literally can make or break your career.
Absolutely. First impressions.
Exactly. First impressions is everything, especially here in New Orleans.
Awesome. Awesome. Great advice.
Yes, sir.
Great advice. Well, I like to ask everybody, what brings elation to you in your life?
Man, so what brings elation to me, I would say, is the ability to be able to inspire people, especially in my music. That brings me a lot of elation. Obviously, I love when people tell me, I like you, I heard your music and I love it and all that good stuff. That's great. But the thing that brings me the most elation is when people tell me I was inspired by your music.
That's
like
awesome.
when I heard your music, it inspired me to do music.
Right.
Or even, man, I was going through a tough time in my life, and then I heard this song, and I was able to relate to it so well that it got me through that tough time. Your songs, your lyrics made me realize that everything is going to be okay. I just got to keep pushing, or, you know, it might have been a song about a heartbreak or whatever it is, you
Right.
know. I was going through the same thing that you were talking about in your song, and it helped me get through that. I listened to that song every day until I got completely over that situation, things like that. So just being able to release music and inspire people, whether it's life situations or inspiring you to do music or inspiring you to do better. Those are the things that gives me elation because I'm not just serving myself, I'm serving others.
Right.
And I feel like we were all put on earth to serve
We're
others.
human
as well.
beings, man. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And the great answer. Great
Yeah,
answer.
appreciate it, man.
Awesome, man. Okay, well, tell us a little bit about your socials and where they can find your music. And I know you just put out a track.
Yeah,
so
man. Just
do
put out a
your
new
shout out.
Yes, sir. Just put out a new song called "Fall for Me." It's available on all streaming platforms. I also have a video out that I shot in South Africa as well.
Awesome.
So that video is on YouTube. It's on Apple Music as well. They actually just put it on Apple Music last week. You can follow me on my Instagram, Rantz_Davis. That's RANTZ_DAVIS. Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. It's just Rantz Davis. Just search Rantz Davis and all my stuff will come up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for coming today and enjoyed the conversation,
Oh,
man.
man, I loved it, man. I had an amazing time.
It's good to get to know you, man.
Yeah, man. Good
All
to
right,
see you again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for coming and joining us on the Elation Podcast, where we enjoy exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration.